Hey guys, Dr. Brady Salcido here, and we're 2 months into the short-term rental game, and I want to share some of the lessons and mistakes that we've made along the way that hopefully will help you out if you're trying to get into the short-term rental game. Okay, so if you're new here, quick update. 2 months ago, we sold our chiropractic business to go full-time into real estate investing, and right now we're focusing primarily on short-term rentals. And as of 2 months now, we now have 3 short-term rentals. We have one that we have purchased and 2 that we are arbitraging and working on our 4th one right now currently, which I'm not going to share about quite yet. But so far, we are 3 properties in, and there have been a lot of lessons that we have learned along the way. It's crazy. And what I want to do today is share some of those lessons with you, and hopefully you'll find these extremely helpful if you're getting started on this journey, because these are things that I wish somebody would have told us. And I think sometimes some of these are even contradictory to what some of the TikTok and Instagram gurus out there will tell you. So take it for what it's worth. Now, tip number 1 is all about the setup of the property. Now, when we were first getting started, we saw a lot of people on social media talk about how fast you want to get your property set up, because the longer it takes to set them up, the more money you're losing to get these things set up. So if you're taking too long to set them up, you're just wasting money, which I get, right? That totally makes sense. And that was our goal getting started. However, I'm going to say if this is your very first property, or even if it's your 2nd or 3rd property, give yourself more time than you think. When you're just getting started, some of it might be just you learning the process, figuring out what you really need in the property. And as you're kind of in the property, as you're setting it up, you're going to figure those things out along the way and start to build your own list, right? But there's also other things that happen as you're setting up a property that you can't plan for, right? There's supply chain issues. There are issues where your packages are supposed to come one day, but all of a sudden they are delayed 2 or 3 days at a time. Or you have issues like we just had in our recent property where we kept getting packages that kept getting damaged, things were broken, things were not right, we'd have to return them, find new ones, and that just delayed the whole process. So in our first property, we really took our time, gave ourselves plenty of time to set up the property, and it took us a good long time, probably much longer than it should, but we learned a lot of things along the way. The second one, which was a 3-bedroom, and this one we thought was going to take a lot longer, and we were done in like 3 days. It was crazy. It went so fast. Everything was so seamless. We had no issues in terms of getting our packages on time. Nothing came damaged. Like, it was a dream setup. And we gave ourselves a week and we were done like 3 days. So we just got to enjoy the rest of the 4 days. It was pretty sweet. And the last one we did was a 2-bedroom, and we had all sorts of issues that we could not have accounted for. We thought we were going to be done with this property in like 2-3 days tops. It ended up taking us almost a full week because we kept getting products that were damaged. Things got delayed. Things weren't showing up on time. We had the postal service that wouldn't deliver to our house for some reason. It was just a mess. And my opinion is I'd rather the property done right than get it done on time, because what you don't want to have happen is be in crunch time thinking I got to be done by Wednesday, but all of a sudden all your packages and deliveries get pushed back or things are damaged and you're trying to fit all of this furniture and trying to find new furniture in with this span of like 1 or 2 days. It's really going to limit your options, and you may not get the aesthetic appeal for your Airbnb that you really want, or you're going to end up paying way more than you probably should. And tip number 2 is for you remote operators out there, meaning you are not relatively within driving distance of your Airbnb. You can't just shoot over there whenever you want. And so for us, we're in that boat. All of our properties are out of state, so we're operating these remotely. And my tip to you is have somebody locally that you can trust that if something happens can go over to your property and take care of it if you really need it. Now, for us, we've had several issues that have come a long way. And to be honest, this business runs very smoothly remotely. And I think it helps you really streamline your business and makes you think a little bit more critically and create systems that help you optimize the business being done remotely. But there are some things that have happened that really have been helpful to have an on-site person there. So in one of our properties, we have somebody who does our lawns. He's also a handyman. So we've used him several times to help out with things on the property. Here's a story. So in one of our properties, the guest checks in, and as soon as they check in, they see a dead animal carcass in our back patio. We have no idea how it got there. Cameras didn't catch anything, but there's this dead animal carcass in our back patio. They send us a picture. We're horrified. We're like, we got to figure out how to get this thing out of there. We call our local guy. He's over there in 10 minutes, takes it out. The guests were thrilled about it. And they were great sports about it. They weren't, upset about it by any means. They know this is the area that they're renting their Airbnb. It happens, but if it wouldn't have been able to take it out right away, that would have been a downer on their stay. So things like that will happen. So it's always nice to have somebody locally that you can count on. It's not going to happen all the time, but it is nice. And number 3, this isn't so much of a tip as more of an insight, but the Airbnb game is getting much tougher nowadays. Depending on the location that you're going into, you're going to have probably more competition than let's say a year, 2 years ago. The game's getting more sophisticated. There's much more people coming into the space that are very knowledgeable and very experienced and have several Airbnbs and develop their processes and systems and have maybe even scaled to where they can do things a lot cheaper than you can. And so getting into this space, one of the things that we're learning is that the game is a lot more competitive. Now, we're still able to do very well because we knew that going into it, but I see a lot of people who are struggling because they haven't understood that the game's getting more competitive. So you have to have the right tools, you have to have the right software, you have to have dynamic pricing, but not just dynamic pricing, you have to know how to use dynamic pricing properly and make customizations based on what your competition's doing. And then even from setup to furniture, there is a lot to learn. So before you even get into your first property, make sure you have really done your research. You've learned as much as you can. You've bought courses, you've leaned on mentors or gone over and worked on something with somebody who's in the space, so that way you have a deep understanding of how this business works, because this isn't just something where you can buy it and it's passive. This is a business. And so you really have to understand that going into it. And not only that, it's not as easy as it was before. It's getting much more competitive, especially depending on the market that you are in. So make sure you're aware of that going into it. And number 4 is write out everything about your processes and your procedures from day one. From how do you want your towels set out? How many towels do you want set out? What's your cleaning list? What are your house rules? All these sort of things are things that you don't want to have to redo for every single property. So start creating your standard operating procedures from your very first property starting day one, so that you can rinse and repeat all of that as you go. That even comes down to like furniture lists, templates for different graphics that you like to use in properties. Things like that make your life so much easier. So creating these standard operating procedures for all these sort of things becomes extremely helpful, so you're not having to redo it. But also as you scale and you start hiring on, you want to make sure that those procedures are there so it's very easy to follow and it's going to help you scale faster. And number 5 is invest in technology and research from day one. Now I'm going to do a whole nother video talking about the technology that we use in our Airbnbs to manage them remotely. But for this one, I want to talk about the investment of actually paying for this technology and paying for this research up front. Especially if you're getting started, you may not have a ton of capital to get started. So it may seem like you're already spending so much. I don't want to spend more than I need to. Is it really worth it to invest in this technology and this research? And my opinion is absolutely. When it comes to the technology that you're going to be using, the technology is what makes your life and your business so much easier to run and manage, and also creates a better experience for your guests. So that's really important in terms of your business operations. The technology is so important. We'll talk about that in another video. But in terms of the research software, yes, that research can be expensive, but I'm telling you, it will help you make a much better and informed decision, help you create a game plan going into every property. Because 1, it's going to help you know if you're making the right decision or not on this property. But then 2, it's going to help you game plan and know, okay, what's your competition doing in that market that's working, and how can you use that for your advantage, so that way you can quick start your success from day one and not be guessing along the whole way. So yes, it is an upfront capital expense upfront, but I'm telling you, it's absolutely worth it. And if you don't have it, you're going to be losing to the people who are using it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you found these tips useful and helpful. If there's something that particularly that stood out to you, make sure you leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what other tips and questions you guys have along the way, and hopefully you guys enjoy following this journey. Can't wait to share more with you guys. See you on the next one.